Sometimes it moves slow for me.
It's moving a little slow. I don't see it on my phone yet.
Yeah, it says it's still sending it out.
Okay.
It should pop up in a little bit. See if we see this. All right, there it is. I see it.
So it's in the DMD?
Yeah, I'm putting it out there everywhere. It's going to be on the DMD public page and into the group. All right. Good afternoon, everybody. This is February 28th, 2021, the end of Black History Month. I am Curtis Webster, the founder and father of Dads Married to Doctors. Been enjoying this journey for 6 years, working with a ton of amazing, phenomenal guys, just learning from one another how we can be better fathers, better dads, and better husbands. And so at the end of the day, that is what it's all about. And a big part of that, as we've learned and are learning, is how we can learn from one another and share different experiences. One of the things that's amazing about DMD is we have, over 4,000 guys in over 25 countries around the world. And so one of the things that I love is actually getting those experiences of the different dads from the different cultures, talking about how they're celebrating different holidays, which then allows me to take that same experience and share with my kids. My girls, as y'all know, all girls, all, middle school and younger, all learning about all these different aspects of life. And so today we're going to talk about, what's been going on with Black History Month. We're going to talk about the Black dad experience, especially being a Black dad married to a doctor. So let me introduce my panel here, my cohorts that's going to share some of their experiences along with me. So let's kick over to Travis Withers. Good afternoon, buddy.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, glad you could join me, man.
Travis Withers, father of 3 boys, ages 11, 7, and 4. My wife is a family medicine physician. So right now she's doing telemedicine and she has her own practice. I used to do marketing for about 12, 13 years. About in the last year and a half, 2 years, I've been stay-at-home dad, but looking to transition somewhat out of that into real estate here in a few months.
That's good stuff. So you're doing that getting that education on right now to get ready for real estate investing?
Education and getting investors lined up. Yep.
It's good stuff, man. That's where it's at. We have a ton of DMDs, as you know, that's all about the real estate. And so a lot of folks to learn from. That's on our list as well. And Kedar, aren't you doing some real estate, getting ready to get in some real estate yourself?
Yeah, man, I'm trying to diversify. So I just started learning from Jamal King, calls himself 9 to 5 millionaire out of Chicago. So I just finished up with his course. So yeah, man, trying to get my first property of investment property.
That's right.
By the summertime, end of the summer.
Okay. That's good stuff, man. So Kedar Whittle, have you joining us today? So go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell folks about your background and what you're doing down there in Atlanta.
Yeah, man. Born and raised Atlanta, ATL. Father of 5. That's right, 5. We have twins that are 9, 7-year-old, 2-year-old, and a newborn, about a month and a week.
Congratulations.
Appreciate it. So my wife is like, wait, what? When did the Zoom call? When did you put this on the schedule?
I get it.
Because she up there with 5, and that 9-year-old boy and that 7-year-old boy, they just stay at it all day, like all day. But it's fun. It's always a house full. I own a couple companies within education. One company, Educators Now, we staff quality teachers at childcare, grade schools, and after school programs.
All right.
And then the other company, Tutors on Demand. It's customized tutoring program. Instead of when COVID came, instead of sending teachers to school, we deployed teachers into parents' homes to help with the virtual learning. And now we're really busy because we're trying to make sure they got those skills because of virtual learning.
Right.
And make sure they're on grade level and master that skill so that they can go to the next grade. So yeah, man, that's a little bit about me.
That's good, man. I love it.
This is my summer curriculum.
Absolutely. We got you.
All right.
Oh man. Well, I will tell you, and I see there's some guys that's in the group that's joining us. Jason, what's up, buddy? Mansour, what's up, man? Glad y'all could join us. If y'all have any thoughts, any questions, what we're going to be talking about today is Black History Month, and also just the importance of diversity and understanding different cultures. So, share with me some of the stuff y'all have been doing with your kids in the, especially this month, or even on just a regular basis there in the comments, so y'all can join along in the conversation. But let's start there. So we all have kids, we all have young kids, and we're trying to, make them well-rounded citizens, right? They're already growing up in the Black experience. But have you all, especially this month or just in general, do y'all do anything specific? And I'll start with you, Travis. You do anything specific to bring them up to speed on the importance of like Black History Month, what we're celebrating right now?
I mean, for us and our family, Black history is kind of every day. It's not just, 1 month, but we do put specific emphasis on it during Black History Month. So, as my kids get a little bit older, I've always not kept much of a filter on when it comes to Black history. I haven't tried to shield them because I realize in school, a lot of times what they're going to get is, Rosa Parks wouldn't give up her seat on the bus. Martin Luther King made the I Have a Dream speech. Bing, bam, boom, equality. And so what they don't get is the struggle. Understand that, the place where we're at today in 2020, in 2021 was not guaranteed. That at any point in time, if a certain person had been killed, if a certain person hadn't decided to do what they did, history could be very different. So, for me, it's about impressing upon them, who the people were in that time. So this year with my 11-year-old, we took it a step deeper because this year we introduced him to Selma. And when we watched the movie Selma, we were pausing it the whole time. We talked about what was SNCC, Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee.
Nice.
What was CORE, Congress of Racial Equalities? What was the SCLC, the Southern Christian Leadership Conference? What role, talking about Martin Luther King's role in helping pull these different groups with different goals together, but how each one of these groups played a part in the movement. So helping him peel back that layer a little bit deeper. That's what we try to do every year, is peel it back a little bit deeper so you can get more into the history. So, we do things that in the community. So this year he had to do an oratory contest. He had to write a 500-word essay on good trouble, what it means to get in good trouble, and so we had him call his grandmothers, because my mom, she was in Prince Edward County, Virginia, where they closed down the schools for 4 years rather than integrate them. She missed 2 years of school. Then she had to made up 2 years of school in 4 years to graduate on time. But she talked about how they protested. She was 8 years old and she had to spend an afternoon in jail. She didn't spend a whole evening in jail because they did let the kids out. But my grandmother, my kid's great grandmother, spent like 3 days in jail for protesting for the right to go to school. So my mom talked to my son about, hey, this is what education means. This is why with your dad, I always emphasize education is number one, because my education was taken away from me. And so to help him understand that he is growing up and how exactly privileged he is to live in this lifestyle where, his dad is a marketer and an engineer, his mom is a doctor, but, understand the privilege that entails and where he just, within his lifetime, person within the last 50 years, those freedoms were not available. So we try to impress that on him, how privileged he is and how he needs to know about that history and think about what his ancestors that are still alive and he talks to on a regular basis went through.
I love it, man. That's so key. That's so key. How cool is it that, like you said, well, cool in one sense of the word, that they can still get that hands-on experience from our grandparents, because literally they were living through integration and that whole experience. But how sad is it that it was just that still recent of an experience that we still have, people alive to give us the firsthand accounts on some of those aspects. Kedar, what about you? And I know your kids are definitely on the younger side. So do y'all do you have a way that you kind of share with them about Black history or just the Black experience?
Man, I feel like I need to do a better job after listening to Travis.
Travis is the man. He is on it.
My family from New York. I need some southern family.
Right?
No, seriously. We definitely it is 12 months a year for us. I mean, one, we live in the South.
Mhm.
Like we are here. All three of us in the South.
That's right.
So it's not like it's not real. We also are coming off of a very heavy climate, like very heavy climate.
That's right.
And it was a conversation between my wife and I, because I don't keep a filter. Like I don't look at my shirt. My shirt.
I love that shirt.
Right.
Like I don't have a filter. But during Black History Month, because we are here, we have a lot of murals that are here. So we took them around the city this month to take a look at the murals, take a look at the neighborhood, and ask them to explain what do they see going on in the neighborhood.
Right.
And the oldest son, he was able to see that it looked like a Black neighborhood, yet he saw a lot of non-Black people in it.
Right.
And so then we started having a conversation about gentrification. We started having a conversation about real estate.
Mm-hmm.
We started having a conversation about taking care of your own. We started having a conversation of why do they think the neighborhood is now being taken over? And so we have these brief, thought-provoking conversations, because they are 9 at the oldest.
You're right. Yeah.
But they get it. We take them. We go to Martin Luther King House every year, just so they just keep it fresh in their memory.
That's right.
It's what they're gonna learn, but you can put your hands on it. Even if you go to school, across the town, them kids not gonna come over here and do this. You need to touch it. So yeah.
I love that. I love that, Kedar. And I love how you mentioned about touching it and giving those experiences. I was, obviously earlier this month with the inauguration, when you have, the vice president being sworn in, you have the poet up there, representing being the youngest Black, poet to talk in that setting. And having my girls sitting there, and a lot of y'all probably even saw the picture that went across our DMD social media, but letting them know Black history is now. This isn't something that happened, 400 years ago or in the past. We're making history every day. And these experiences, you still have an opportunity to be the first, or you still have an opportunity to continue this long history and long legacy. And like you were talking about earlier, Travis, with my 9-year-old, I was chatting with her, 9-year-old, with my 11-year-old. Look, Kedar, I'm going over what you just talking about, a 9-year-old. With my 11-year-old, she's talking about when I'm president, I'm going to make these changes. When I'm president, I'm going to do this.
Absolutely.
You don't have to wait till you're president. We can do some of the stuff right now.
Exactly. Exactly. So, I mean, it's like
there it is.
Last summer we had we went to a Black Lives Matter march that was in town. We picked one that was advertised as being kid focused. And so it was literally a youth Black Lives Matter march. And so my son was able to make a sign for that. He was able to come up and speak. He spoke a few words about, how he felt about the current situation going on in the country, how it made him feel, some of the sadness that he felt. And so I just felt like it was really cathartic for him, because he knew all this stuff was going on. But for him to be able to have a platform to express himself was very meaningful. So yeah, man.
That's good. That's good. When we're talking, especially for those of you all that are watching, like I said, if you have some tips or some things that you do to share racial diversity and share some of these experiences with your kids, I'd love to hear them, so we can, even start putting together a whole list. But, like last night, my girls and I, we were watching, was it Over the Moon? I think it was on Netflix or Amazon or one of those, but it was the movie about the moon goddess, and they were talking about the moon festival and these different Asian culture experiences. And my middle daughter, my 8-year-old, she was like, "Oh yeah, look at the Chinese lanterns or the Chinese dress." And I said, "Well," and this is actually a conversation we've had before. Hold on. Let's confirm. Let's make sure this is actually, Chinese culture that we're looking at. Let's make sure it's not Japanese or Vietnamese or something else. And even helping them to understand that, when it comes to this racial diversity, let's talk about what that can look like, and let's talk about not making these judgments and these assumptions, and let's it gives us an opportunity to dig in a little bit deeper. And both of y'all kind of touched on that, and making sure that the kids understand, what this is all about, right? And the different opportunities for exposing culture and different new subjects is always around us, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So we actually we do that a lot just via YouTube videos or even via some of the different movies that are popping up. Like right now on all these streaming platforms, they have a ton of good movies. Like Travis, you were talking about Selma, and depending on the age of your kids, I think it's cool that they have different kind of age appropriate movies and things that they're sharing programming. Have there been any? So Travis, you just talked about taking your kids to a youth focused march. Are there any movies or books or videos, or even Kedar, you're talking about, podcasts? Are there any media that you all have used to bring up with your kids? Any specific things you want to point to?
I mean, I've used most of the movies that have come out. I mean, like, he's not ready for Judas and the Black Messiah. He's not ready for that yet.
Not yet.
I have not introduced him to some of the more militant things that occurred during the movement. But what I have tried to do is I do try to keep it age appropriate, but even though I kept it age appropriate, I've never really filtered it. Like, he knew that Dr. King was murdered at 5 years old. A lot of the things, is actually things that I teach them from my study. I've got books on my bookshelf that I've just read over the years, and I just know the stuff, right. And I will just talk to them about it. So I don't specifically have that type of age appropriate kind of material right readily at hand, because a lot of that stuff is just, I knew it, and so I just I had studied it myself, and so we'll dig into something like I said, he had his oratorical contest this yesterday, and in preparing for that, we dug in a lot into John Lewis. What was John Lewis's role? Helping him understand that when John Lewis was leading SNCC and going on the Freedom Rides in 1961, he was 21 years old.
Right.
He was not he was just barely a grown man.
They all looked 45, but they was 20.
They were out here making a difference at a very, very young age. And so just help. That's one of the things that as he's turning 11 and entering that prepubescent kind of stage, helping him understand that you can be a change agent. You don't have to be a 30 or 40 years old to be a change agent. You can be a change agent at any age. It's a matter of making a stand and figuring out what you're going to go do to drive change. What you're not just gonna, talk about the change on Facebook. What are you actually gonna go do?
Right. I love that.
Yeah, I mean, that's so right now they are at a young age. I mean, I do have real conversations with them, but what I'm instilling in them now is the forward movement. So when we are in the car, we listen to podcasts. So one of my favorite podcasts is Trailblazers FM. It's a Jamaican dude, Stephen A. Hart. He interviews successful entrepreneurs, thought leaders, executive level people, all people of color. And so I play it and just let them listen.
There you go.
And let them realize that these people are Black or people of color. Just so I can instill in them that they have the power to also do this and more.
Yeah. I like that a lot. That building up of them, that internal sense that they, like you said, can do more, and they can go ahead and achieve some amazing things right now. You don't have to hit that certain age or wait for a certain position, that you can start doing some stuff right now. We do the exact same thing. We were just listening to one of Oprah Winfrey's shows in the car yesterday, and she was talking about her experiences and how she had to follow her gut and start blazing some of those trails in media and in TV and everything else, and how it wasn't easy. And so that's another great tip, using the resources that are available, podcasts, streaming services, whatever else, to always keep that conversation going to empower our kids. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, that's one of the big things in our home is, speaking life into them. And so anytime we're in the car or whatever, I ask questions like, "Are you beautiful?" Like, I'll say that to my daughter, "Are you beautiful?" And she has to respond, "Yes, I am beautiful." And so I go through a series of questions like, are you brave? Are you strong? Are you a young king? And then at the end, I say, are you strong? And they say, yes, I am strong. Let me see you're strong. And they be like, I'll line them up. The 2-year-old even do it. I'll line them up. I'll put a video out there. But I think it's important because what's sad is all of society won't tell them.
Mm-hmm.
Pieces of society will tell them, and they'll pick it up. And even other races will tell them.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of society won't tell them, and they won't embrace their strength. They won't embrace their confidence. And so I just got to make sure that they have it so that they have confidence above that as well.
Yes.
Building that inner fortitude, man. I love it. And like you said, there's a lot of folks in life and in society that will tell them, maybe aspects of who they are. More so, we'll probably tell them who they're not, what they can and can't do. But it's definitely going to be important for us to instill in them, who they are and what they can do in that power. Let me ask y'all about this because I love, and Travis, you mentioned earlier about Facebook and social media. One of the things that's been great during this, especially this crazy time right now with Black Lives Matters and all these different movements, is the ability to have these conversations. Now, the challenge is, of course, a lot of those conversations are one-sided. It's a lot of people yelling and not trying to listen. But I have thoroughly appreciated my Black friends and more so the non-Black friends that have reached out and said, okay, I see all this stuff that's going on. What do I need to know? How can I better understand what's happening here? How can I help? I love that it's opened up this platform for conversation. So let me ask y'all with this whole thing. So I've heard even some friends and some folks talking about, oh, you know what? I'm just teaching my kids. I don't see color. I'm teaching all this kind of stuff. Obviously equality.
Better see my color.
But that whole statement though, I don't see color, and I'm like, well, no, I teach my kids to acknowledge color all the time. I teach them to acknowledge these differences and these different things, but not to see it as a bad thing or anything like that, but to recognize those differences. So how have y'all had that kind of conversation with your kids? Are your kids quote unquote colorblind, or like y'all said, removing filters? Have y'all had that part of the conversation?
Nah, my kids see color. Because you're going to see color when you see my kids, whether you say you don't. So now we definitely recognize color. And I make sure my kids recognize their color.
Right. There you go.
Because they have to. And it's one of those things where you want to not teach them that. You wish you could teach them level playing field.
Right.
And at some point, the conversation is, all right, well, am I the generation that teaches level playing field? Yet then I turn on the TV and I see it's not a level playing field yet. So I got to teach them to survive versus a level playing field. Yeah, it's tough, bro, but I you see color in my house. And I mean, we respect it's all respected. Like it's all respected. But yeah, we teach color.
Yeah, it's good. Like I said, that goes back to what I was talking about earlier with taking that moment to pause the video last night when we were watching the show about the moon and making sure we looked into the, which cultures are being represented here. Let's not just assume. Let's just not make these assumptions, but let's go ahead and figure it out and and make sure we know what we're talking about. So,
we did that this morning. Jeremy Lin, NBA player,
right?
He spoke out because people were calling him coronavirus as a nickname, and so I told my wife, and then all the kids was there, but we talked about it. We just talked about how ignorant of a statement and how ignorant of someone that was, because they don't know Jeremy like that. They don't. And two, like, if somebody was to call you out your name, you'll be ready. We'll have a whole protest, but we'll be, boycott the NBA if that person didn't get kicked out. It'll be a whole problem, like a whole problem.
Oh, man.
So I agree. I definitely, teach my kids, yes, color exists. What we need to do is appreciate everyone's culture and background. I have a guy that I work with a lot, and he's Honduran. And I love the guy. He's a hard working guy. But I've taught my son, like, look, he's from Honduras. What are some things that we can go learn about Honduras, about where he came from, about, what are some particular things that make Honduras unique and different? Right. Same thing with the coronavirus. One day my son came in and he's talking about, this is a Chinese virus. I'm like, no, it's not. Right. We believe the science says it may have originated in China, but it could have originated anywhere else. Right. So, it did affect them first, but it's just a virus. It affects everybody.
That's right. The virus is definitely colorblind. It don't care.
That virus didn't care. Come here. That virus said, come here. I know we wide open here in Atlanta.
Yeah, right. So obviously today we're talking a little bit about Black history, but even more so than that, we're talking about, the Black experience. And so I think one of the reasons why this is so important, and especially one of the things about DMD is we have a lot of mixed families. We have families that are married, various cultures, the person, their spouse could be different cultures. We definitely have folks of different religious backgrounds. And then we have folks that have, mixed kids or even have adopted and fostered. And so I think conversations like this are so key because, if you're raising a child and you're raising your family that has, any ounce of color to them, they're going to experience something in their lifetime. So with the Black experience, I'd love, if y'all want to share, an experience or two just in your lives of what that's been like, where you had to navigate a situation a little bit differently being a Black man, if y'all want to share one of those experiences. Good, good or bad. Obviously, it didn't have to all be bad.
Right.
And while y'all are thinking, I'll jump off. I remember because I grew up in Houston, Texas. I grew up in the South, but my mom always had me and stuff. So I was always busy, always doing things. So I, quote unquote, didn't hang out with the wrong crowds. I didn't get into all this different stuff. Didn't get into trouble. My experiences with the police is I was serving on the youth police task force, talking about ways that we could interact and, and do different things to make sure kids understood, the importance of what law enforcement was doing. So I didn't have some of those different experiences growing up. Then I travel and get to UNC Chapel Hill. I'm going to get my hair cut, which actually was in Carborough, which, is a, a Black part of the town right outside of Chapel Hill. And next thing I know, I see two different cop cars behind me. And I keep going, I keep driving. I'm like, okay, well, I have my Texas plates. I mean, I don't know. It could be a ton of different things. It's a college campus. Maybe I was driving a little bit too fast. I have no clue. It goes from one cop car to two cop cars to right by the time I pull up and leave Chapel Hill and get into Carborough. Next thing I know, there's two cop cars behind me and two in front of me that are coming to get me out of the car to ask me something. I don't even know what they wanted to ask. I don't even know what was going on. Thankfully, the barbershop owners came out. Everything was cool. Nothing happened. I didn't get thrown up against the car. I didn't go to jail, and it was done. But it was like, what in the world was going on here? Like, what were y'all trying to accomplish? 4 different people standing on both sides of me and my homeboy that was in the car with me going to get our haircut at the Black barbershop.
That's crazy.
So experiences like that, just for, as we talk about, like I'm wearing my Adulta Today shirt, for living while Black. And I think that's the kind of the challenge that a lot of folks don't understand is our experience just trying to live a normal everyday life sometimes gets convoluted, sometimes gets impacted just because of the color of our skin. And we always have to be thinking about what's going on. Let me make sure I don't do any crazy movements. I have to always be watching what I'm doing sometimes just because of the color of my skin, not because of who I am. So, have y'all had experiences similar so people can kind of understand why we sometimes kind of judge situations or think about things or have to think about life situations a little bit differently than maybe others?
I think it's something that you get so used to thinking about it that it almost becomes subconscious. Like, you know, when I was training for doing Ironmans, you know, I have to do 20-mile runs. And so, you know, sometimes I'd be running at 11 o'clock at night. And I'd be like, man, should I really be running at 11 o'clock at night? Let me make sure I wear some bright colors, some bright shoes. You know, make sure that if I'm running early in the morning and people see me, that I'm waving, hey, how you doing? You know, just so I don't look. You know, I do a lot of stuff, and it sometimes takes me actually sitting and consciously thinking about it. I do a lot of things to make myself less threatening.
Right.
And you know, the more sometimes it just takes me like just time to sit down and think about, man, you know, why did I do that? Sometimes I do things just to make myself seem less threatening to people. And I think it's a subconscious thing at this point. But it's something that I'm working with my son on. I don't want to necessarily teach him to do that, but I do need him to be cognizant, because he's made that transition from being, you know, a cute Black boy to being a Black man, because he's, you know, 5'2", 160 now. So he's a big kid, you know, at 11 years old. And so I gotta make sure that he knows that people may not look at him as innocent the way that they used to.
Right.
And make sure that he's prepared for that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, similar here. You know, I'm 6'6", so my 9-year-old, he's gonna be tall. And I teach him, like, look, bro, you're gonna be tall at 11. People gonna think you 15. But I definitely had plenty of experiences, man. I mean, from the first time I was arrested at 13. You know what I'm saying? Like, dude said we broke into the pool. No, we didn't. And still arrested us. It drove us home though. Like, didn't arrest us and then I'm old. So then arrest us and take us nowhere. Arrested us and took us home. Like, get off these people's property. It was an apartment complex. I remember grad school in Boston. There's this huge race, not marathon, but one of them road races, and the campus normally shuts down. And so I was like, I need to go study. And so I was like, I'm about to go study. I get to the gate and the guard's like, where you going? I was like, I'm about to go to the library. He said, nah, it's shut down. I said, bro, I need to go study. He said, it's for students only. I said, I'm a student. He said, yeah, right. Let me see your paperwork. My paperwork? Like, is this a slave trade with my paperwork? Here you go, boss. I literally had to show him my class schedule just to get on campus. And it's like, dang, like, I can't be a student here. So I mean, it's definitely plenty of stories like that. Just recently I got pulled over. I'm in a Prius, bro. He was like, well, your windows was tinted and I couldn't see you on the inside because I'm Black. That's why. I bet you knew that, huh? Nah, it's crazy. I mean, it was a similar story. Like, a dude came up, and then another cop came up.
Exactly.
And then one got in front of me, and then one started walking towards the car. I'm like,
yeah,
what are we doing here? Let me roll all these windows down.
Right. And you know, like you said,
and I had California tags, and I was in Georgia.
Exactly.
So they really like, oh yeah, he running drugs from Florida to Georgia.
Coast to coast.
And this Prius, he get good gas mileage. He a smart drug dealer.
Dude, it's amazing. I mean, the experiences happen, and I think that's going to be the biggest thing, you know, especially for the folks watching, is especially if you are raising, you know, mixed kids, or even just recognizing these things. And like Travis, we were talking about how we had your friend Jamon on, and he had a conversation with some of us and some DMDs, that the whole thing is just to recognize that we're all biased. We all have some sort of bias. Look, when I see people walking down the street, sometimes I cross to the other side of the street. You know what I'm saying? Like we all have bias. We all make assumptions. We all make, you know, judgments and so on and so forth. And there's not necessarily anything wrong with that. But what happens next? What do you do because of those biases, because of those assumptions, because of those judgments? You know, when you start treating people differently, that's where it becomes an issue. Nothing wrong with making sure you're being safe and taking precautions, but what do you do with that? And so, you know, these are the conversations, like, for instance, with actually with all my girls up to this point, but especially with the older two, they've been the only Black girl in their class, or one of a couple, and having that conversation where kids would come and, you know, start touching in their hair or ask them about it. Why is your hair different? Why does it do that? You know, and so on and so forth. And so it's just, you know what? Don't assume that they're asking from a bad perspective. You know, but answer the question, and then you go from there. So, you know, that's why I wanted to bring that up, is these experiences. Have y'all's kids had some of those same experiences, being the only one in class, or coming to you all trying to ask about how they should have navigated a particular experience, being, you know, maybe one of the few in a class?
I will say that one of the things that I've been surprised about, you know, in a rather pleasant way, is how good of a job my kids' school has done with managing these types of issues. I was, you know, honestly, Chattanooga, Tennessee, I was surprised that just the level that they go to just really stress acceptance of kind of all people. So, I mean, it's been a pleasant surprise, but I mean, I'm old enough to know that it's coming. That, you know, I remember the first time I got called the N-word. I was 11
I
years
was
old.
6. I was 6.
Oh, you're 6, dog. Shoot. Yeah, I was 11, and the you know, kid come off and told me that in middle school, and we was ready to fight, and it, you know, it's gonna come. But, you know, it may, I don't know. Hopefully it doesn't come.
Right.
Hopefully he doesn't have to deal with that. But, you know, I'm always thinking about how am I going to prepare him to have the fortitude to not necessarily throw hands,
right,
but to stand up for himself in a very assertive way. But that's also the right way. So, I mean, but I like I said, that's for an elementary school. I think his school has done a tremendous job in teaching kids how to stand up for themselves, how to stand up for each other, and how to not bully. I mean, it's kind of amazing, because I came up in the days where, you know, your shoes weren't clean with, you know, 409 and whatever, you got picked on. It's just, it doesn't.
You and your mama got picked on.
Exactly.
Oh, that's right.
It doesn't happen like that anymore. I mean, it just may be my kid's school, but it's just the.
Nah, it's like that everywhere. Everybody punked.
Yeah. But in 1986 and 87, it wasn't like that.
Right.
At all. Yeah, nah, man. I got called the N-word. I was 6, bro. Like, I'm from the South. You know what I'm saying? But my kids they do their school also does a good job of talking. I think they do it from a standpoint of not bullying perspective.
Right.
Because I don't think they do a good job of talking about race. It really is from a no bullying, accept people perspective.
Right.
It's more of an all lives matter perspective, and they won't say Black Lives Matter. But I mean, I get it. Yeah. I get the progression. Yeah. I'm hesitant though, because I'm not militant, but my dad is.
Oh, I love it. Oh man, you know, and that's the whole thing. Like you said, is the challenges, or what's unfortunate is, it's like, if it hasn't happened, you know, our kids are going to have some experience, and trying to prepare them to be mentally strong enough to be able to handle that and think through it and handle it in a way that matters well, or that works best.
You know, one thing that I'm working on. I'm in education.
Right.
I really am working on a critical thinking curriculum, because I think if we teach from a solution-based mindset,
There you go.
It will teach us to be able to handle situations and process them before just reacting more times than not. And I think when Travis said, you know, his son having the fortitude not to throw hands, first thing I thought was that'd be the last time he said though.
Right.
But what you want to do is to think on a superior level, not throw hands, not react at all. Either try to educate or just walk away.
You know, it's interesting because we're finishing up February, coming out of Black History Month, going into March, which is, I didn't even realize is
Women's History.
Yeah, Women's History Month. So I don't know if that's a new thing or if that's been around for a while. Obviously, showing my ignorance there, but I have to look that up and learn a little bit more about it. But I was like, so interesting. How cool is that? Because especially, you know, for our wives, they run that intersection between being a Black woman, especially in a medical field that, you know, obviously is still currently and predominantly, you know, white male driven. So I'd love, as we start to wrap up here, you know, let's transition to that. You know, obviously we talked a little bit about our own experiences of being Black men. What about with our spouses? Have y'all, you know, had to or heard of or been right there as they've had any challenges navigating medicine, you know, as a Black woman?
My wife is a nurse. When I say it makes her blood boil when someone comes in the room and calls her a nurse, I mean, blood boil. Like, can a Black woman not be a doctor?
Yeah.
I mean, so we'll be at the airport. Oh, what do y'all do? Y'all got a bunch of kids. So somebody does something. It's just like, oh, I'm in the medical field. Oh, are you a nurse?
You're a nurse.
What?
Always the assumption.
Always the assumption. So, and too, like, even as my wife's a lead pediatrician, and she has had some challenges with other race challenging her.
Right.
I mean, she's young too, but it's always a fight for some people because they feel privileged, and they feel so privileged they go above even her direct and talk to somebody just to get policies changed. So it's like, well, where's the respect?
Exactly. Yeah.
So my wife just, I mean, in some extent, I mean, medicine, like a lot of fields, it can be a good old boys club. And my wife, frankly, just got tired of playing the games and playing the politics, and she didn't want to play anymore. Now, I'm not saying that this is necessarily because she's Black female, but it has a bit to do with it. Yes, it does. I'm sorry, it just does.
Right.
And so that's one of the things that drove her to open her own practice, and just to be like, you know what, I'm just going to do this on my own and get patients that want to see me and appreciate me for the doctor that I am. So that's, you know, she's going strong with that right now. You know,
I'm trying to get my wife to do that route too.
Yep. I'm very familiar with the whole, oh, your wife is a nurse thing. Now, it depends on whether or not you're trying to sell me something. You're trying to sell me something? Yeah, she's a nurse.
Yeah, she's a nurse.
I know that's right.
She got her CNA.
That's so true. No, it's funny because I think, you know, and I'm sure y'all spouses are the same way, but the same way I don't go around just always rocking, you know, dad married to doctor. You know, a lot of times it's just the DMD crest. You know, like you said, there's times that you want to pull out that card, and there's a lot of times you don't, because you don't want that to lead in the wrong directions, being overcharged and everything else.
Right.
So now, you know, I think
one of the things that my kids have gotten used to, and I think is a good thing, is no big deal, because my wife, she's a Black female doctor, so she has a big network of other Black female doctors. Yep. And so with my kids, it's just no big deal for them to see a woman doctor. It's like, oh, that's kind of normal.
Exactly.
You know, the circles that we run in, you know, you're a lawyer, you're a doctor, you're an accountant, you're an engineer. It's no big deal for them. And I do have to do some level of work to help them understand that when you take it out to the broader society, they're unicorns.
Right.
They're still unicorns. And to understand that not everybody, a disproportionate number of people that look like us haven't achieved the success that we have.
Right.
And so it is a conscious effort from the church we choose, from the Taekwondo school we chose, to some of the extracurricular activities we choose, to make sure they get that full range of exposure.
Yeah, that full experience. That was actually going to be something I was going to ask about, because our kids definitely get a different level or different experience of quality of life. I was we're buying tickets to go away for spring break. You know, my wife got vaccinated. You know, we finally about to hit the road again. You know, a little bit more than we were before. So she's ready. So we were talking about we're flying out. We're getting the plane tickets. So we're flying whatever regular coach or whatever on the way back. On the way out there. But then for $150 more, they're like on the return trip we can fly first class. So my oldest was there with us, the 11-year-old, and we were telling her, oh man, wow, we lucked up, like we got these tickets and it's not a crazy price to get first class. And we said, but on the way out there, we're flying coach. 11-year-old like, we got to fly with everybody else and coach. I'm like, child, let me talk to you about my flying experiences.
Right.
Let me tell you the fact that I didn't get on a plane until I was 20 years old.
Nah, man, our kids are sport. So we usually do crab legs every Sunday. And then one Sunday I splurged a little bit. I got some king crab legs for the fam. And so the next time I got king crab legs, then the last time I got king crab legs, the kids was like, oh, we can't do them little crab legs no more. Like, what? How much extra these crab legs cost? When I say they have no idea, they have no clue, bro. But I take the boys. I don't take the girls. I take the boys to my barbershop. My barbershop is in the hood. Like, it's 8 barbers in there. 5 of them got pistols on their hip. Like, we in the hood. And they eyes be bugged. They be wide-eyed. Like, Daddy, look. Like, don't look too hard. I don't know him either. I got to give them that code. You got to give them that whole experience, man.
I mean, but helping them understand that the sheer amount of Black men that have gotten caught up in the system,
right? And
then once you get caught up in that system, literally one of the only things you can do is cut hair and do food.
That's it.
And how it really cuts you off from other paths for advancement. So they may have served their time, they may have paid their debt to society, and they in fact may not have even been that big in the scale of things. Stuff that they went to jail for 5-10 years ago and is on the record as a felony, right now it's legal, right? Because it was weed.
Yeah, my barber did 18 months in the feds, 30-year probation. He took it though. He said, 30 years? All right. I'll just be on good behavior for 30 years, but I'm not gonna stay no longer in here. He took it. And I tell my kids, like, yo, you can make a right decision or a wrong decision. It's up to you.
Right. No, I love it. That's the biggest thing is I think all of us as dads across the board, and especially as Black dads, we're trying to make sure our kids have a good understanding of what life can bring to the table. It can bring a lot of great things and a lot of amazing experiences, but you also need to understand that, like you said, not everybody's as fortunate as we are, or a few wrong decisions, being in the wrong place at the wrong time. All those different things can affect, your future to a huge degree. And so we're all trying to, I imagine and believe we're all trying to build in that fortitude into our kids.
You know what lesson I taught my kid today? My 2 oldest boys. They both kept saying the other one is doing something to me that I told them to figure it out. They couldn't figure it out. And so they both got in trouble, had to separate, had to clean everything. And so my oldest, I said, do you know why you got in trouble? He started crying. He said, I don't know. I can't figure it out. Why did I get in trouble? He was the one that was bothering me the last time.
Right.
So I let them clean everything and do everything. I brought them together. I said, you have to control your own environment. If he is bothering you, then you remove yourself from the situation. If he keeps following you, then you come get me.
Exactly.
But you decided to stay there. You decided to keep allowing him to bother you, so you get in trouble. You got to think beyond. You got to think beyond just what's right here, because a lot of times, and this is what I said, and I said in life, because I always bring it to in life.
That's right.
In life, if y'all were together and he did something, both of y'all going down.
That's right. Y'all both going to jail.
Y'all both going down.
Yeah.
This is the first time he heard it. I'm gonna have to keep telling him, but at least he heard it this first time. And it was accompanied by a lot of cleaning. Maybe he'll remember if I say it a couple more times.
I think that's a great life lesson. You know, that's some of the stuff that we talk about right now. And y'all talked about this earlier. We have all the kids involved in different aspects of the chores. You know, 11, 8, and 5, all of them doing stuff. All of them helping with laundry. All of them helping empty the trash, helping do all those different things that they need to understand early on. Sometimes, to your point, I even, especially with the oldest, because she's like, oh, you know, why do I need to clean up over here when I didn't make this mess? So sometimes I have them clean up other parts of the house or other people's rooms that they didn't even have nothing to do with, just to understand, you know what? That's part of life sometimes. Mommy and I clean up after all of y'all on toys we didn't play with.
My kids now know my mantra. You will rise together or you will fall together.
Yep.
For your 3 brothers, and whatever happens to you, it will happen together. So, you know, I'm like, you guys have 2 bedrooms and an adjoining bathroom. I don't care if you're in my living, I don't care if your room is clean. Is your brother's room clean? And are you helping them clean?
Yep.
So that you can get it all done.
Yeah.
I can send my kids to Travis' house all day.
Dude, but the folks that's in the group, y'all know Travis always got a story and Travis always teaching a lesson. I love it, man. Travis, you got to put your book together, man. Your daddy lessons, because you got some good ones.
Absolutely.
So fellas, with that, we're gonna go and wrap it up. I want to respect y'all's time. I know folks been hanging out with us, but you know, this is what we've been talking about today. It's just a little bit about the Black experience and what it's like, you know, having to always have that, you know, who we are, what we look like in the back of our minds. And so for those of you that are watching, especially those that can't relate, that don't have these same experiences, that's what we just wanted to share a little bit today, especially as we come out of Black History Month, is to just understand, you know, regardless of which race, which culture, you know, sometimes our life experiences are going to be different. And so you need to be cognizant of that. Same things that we're cognizant about. So if you have any questions, you know, drop those down in the comments. We'll do more of these. I would love to bring, you know, different folks on and go through some of these different conversations just as a little glimpse into what it's like. So Kedar, I know you were talking earlier about your new podcast and about some of the different companies you're running with tutoring, and I think those would be real helpful links to share with the folks watching. So let me go ahead and let you share where folks can find you.
Yeah, man. At Kedar on all social media. Just dropped a new podcast called Black to School Podcast. We're on all your favorite podcast platform. Just Black to School Podcast, all one word. We highlight successful stories for people that are currently at an HBCU, alumni, or affiliated with an HBCU. Well, also Tutors on Demand LLC is a tutoring company. We can do online, but we are in Metro Atlanta, so we can also do in person or agreed upon location. So make sure you go there. Now, here's the thing. I got to say this real quick. TutorsOnDemandLLC.com. We know there are people that can afford our service. There are so many scholars that will be behind because of virtual learning. Statistics are showing that they will be anywhere from 12 to 18 months behind. There are some scholars that cannot afford our service. So we have started a campaign called SOS, Saving Our Scholars. We are raising $150,000 to help over 100 students with tutoring. And we're talking about 3 hours a week for 3 months leading up to the school year so that they can master those skills before going to the next school year. So $5, $10, I know when people say no donation is too small, but seriously, no donation is too small. TutorsOnDemandLLC.com. Any dollar amount would help.
I got you for $100. I challenge
you, brother.
to help out.
Thank you, brother.
That's what's up. Nah, Kedar,
Just
that's
got the link.
amazing, man. We've been having that conversation about education, and right now we've been doing so much supplementation. Like right now, literally, my girls are upstairs right now on their computers doing education.com. We have them doing iExcel. We have them doing iReady. You know, all these different supplemental sites. We have workbooks and all this stuff because
You have to.
virtual is hard, man. Virtual is hard. All our girls right now are doing virtual school. They're on the computers all day, and so we also supplement. I feel, you know, you ask my girls right now, they be like, "Man, we always learning something." But that's the key. That's
You
the
have
we
to.
feel like that's the goal because we cannot just rely on the education system to do. And this was even back when they were in school. We were doing stuff like this to supplement so that they can get that well-rounded, you know, full educational experience.
You have to, man.
I love what you're doing there. So say the website one more time.
TutorsOnDemandLLC.com. TutorsOnDemandLLC.com.
And y'all are taking donations. You're trying to raise $150,000 by when?
It'll be ongoing throughout the summer. But it'll be awesome that if we could end the campaign in June so that we also have July, August, and September to keep serving.
I love that. So yeah, DMD, let's get behind a fellow DMD. Let's support, you know, making sure kids have access to those resources. So like Travis said, he's in for 100. I'm in for 100. We'll put a DMD Gives Back together. So you all have one easy way to get to the link and support a fellow DMD. And then
That's
Travis,
awesome, man. Thank you.
Starting real estate. I know your wife has her own practice. You want to share any links or any place for folks to follow you?
I don't have anything to really share on that right now. I mean, I appreciate you having me on the panel. I do have a hard stop though, because I gotta bounce out.
Yep, not as good, man. We are done. So Travis, Kedar, I appreciate y'all's time. Folks, thank y'all for watching us today, and we will catch you on the next DMD Spotlight. Y'all can catch this one and more at dadsmarriedtodoctors.com. Y'all have a good one.
Appreciate you, Kurt.
Thank you.